If you've been scrolling through endless monitor specs and wondering whether any of them will actually make your workflow smoother, you're not alone. You want something that just works: reliable color, a refresh rate that won't make you twitch, and a size that feels natural on a desk that already has a laptop and a phone charger. The fear of splurging on a premium screen only to discover it looks washed out in your photo editing apps, or that the extra width just eats up precious desk space, is real. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking for a monitor that could serve both my gaming evenings and my side gig as a freelance video editor, the ASUS 34-inch ProArt kept popping up. It's marketed as a hybrid, wide enough for immersive games, color accurate enough for color grading, and equipped with a USB-C hub so I could ditch a separate dock. The first question I asked myself was simple: can it actually deliver on those promises without turning my desk into a cluttered mess? My research turned up a handful of professional reviews that praised its factory-calibrated panels, and a handful of user comments that warned about the occasional flicker at high refresh rates. That mix gave me enough confidence to test it in the real world. Let's start with the most tangible benefit: the ultra-wide 21:9 aspect ratio. For someone who spends half the day with timelines stretched across the screen, that extra horizontal real estate is a game changer. I could line up a 3-track audio edit, a color grade panel, and a reference video all without juggling windows. In gaming, the same width creates a subtle but noticeable immersion boost. Enemies appear at the edges of your peripheral vision, and you feel less confined than on a traditional 16:9 display. The 120Hz refresh rate holds up well too. I tested a few fast-paced shooters and the motion felt smooth, without the stutter that cheaper 60Hz panels exhibit. Color accuracy is where the ProArt label truly matters. The monitor comes Calman verified out of the box, which means it's already calibrated to hit 98% of the DCI-P3 gamut. In practice, that translates to richer reds and deeper blues when I'm grading footage for YouTube. I compared a still from a recent shoot on this monitor against a reference monitor that costs twice as much, and the differences were negligible, especially after I turned on the built-in preset for video work. The sRGB coverage is also solid, so if you're designing web graphics, you won't see unexpected shifts when you upload the final file. Now, the practical drawbacks. First, the size and curvature demand a bit of desk real estate. My 48-inch desk barely fits a 34-inch monitor plus a keyboard and a mouse, so you need a sturdy stand or a VESA mount. The stand that ships with it is sturdy, but it leans forward a touch, which can be uncomfortable if you sit too close. Second, the USB-C port is definitely a convenience. One cable powers my laptop, carries video, and handles data, but it's limited to 65W charging. If you have a high-performance laptop that expects 100W, you'll need a separate charger anyway. Finally, a minority of owners have reported a faint buzzing noise from the backlight when the panel is set to its highest brightness. I didn't notice it in normal office lighting, but it's something to keep in mind if you plan to run the monitor at full blast in a dark room. Who should buy this monitor? If you're a content creator, photographer, videographer, graphic designer who needs reliable out-of-the-box color accuracy and appreciates the ability to line up multiple windows without a dual monitor setup, this is a solid pick. Gamers who want a smoother experience than a standard 60Hz display will also find the 120Hz refresh worthwhile, especially if you already own a GPU that can push those frames. And if you already use a laptop with USB-C, the single cable solution can tidy up a cluttered desk. Who should skip it? If you're primarily a competitive esports player, the 120Hz, while decent, won't match the 144Hz or 240Hz panels that pro-level gamers favor, and the extra width could actually be a hindrance for fast aiming. Likewise, anyone on a tight budget or with a very small desk will probably feel the size is overkill. If you need a monitor that doubles as a TV for living room use, the 21:9 aspect ratio and lack of HDR peak brightness make it less suitable. And if you rely on a laptop that needs more than 65W charging, you'll still have to carry a second charger. Overall, the ASUS 34-inch ProArt feels like a well-balanced compromise between a professional-grade color reference monitor and an immersive gaming screen. It doesn't try to be everything, but it does a respectable job at the two things it sets out to do. The price sits a bit higher than a standard 27-inch 1080p panel, but when you factor in the factory calibration, the USB-C hub, and the sheer amount of screen space, it feels justified for anyone whose workflow benefits from those strengths. If you're still on the fence, consider